I didn't pursue dual residency because I was scared. I did it because I was paying attention. When the world feels uncertain, having legal options really matters more than ever. So today I want to explain what it really means to hold residency in Panama and Portugal, what it has given me, and why being legal abroad is not just a lifestyle choice, but it's a stability choice. So if you're new here, hi, my name is Mary, and my channel is all about inspiring, encouraging, and supporting women to choose themselves and build a lifestyle that fits. If this is something that you're interested in, make sure you hit the like and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. And if you are trying to make some changes in your life and need some support and some encouragement, then please join me in my private Skool community. I will have the link in the description and also in the pinned comments. All right, so let's just get started. So I started this move abroad journey about 4 years ago when I relocated to Panama. And I chose Panama for all the reasons that other people are choosing Panama. Panama was close to the U.S. Panama used the U.S. dollar. Panama was stable. It was modern. Panama was easy to relocate to. Panama had a straightforward visa process. So the visa that I qualified for, was the Panama visa. And I did all my research like everybody else did. I did a scouting trip. I did all the things that I needed to do to prepare me to relocate to Panama. And the Panama visa, in my opinion, was one of the most straightforward visas for relocating to a new country. It was very direct. You had to use an immigration attorney because that's the process in Panama. But all the documents are all laid out for you. And as long as you follow the process, you're not going to have any problems. Matter of fact, I have a separate video that I created, the 5 steps to getting your Panama visa. I will put that in the description below. I have lots of people who have followed that video and have had no problems getting their Panama visa. All right, so I chose the Panama visa. I got my documents done before I came to Panama to see the attorney, to sign everything in person. And I think it took maybe about 6 months for the entire process. It might have been less because it seemed like it was pretty fast. It might have been 4 to 6 months because you first get your temporary visa and then you get your permanent visa, but then you also have to get your e-cedula, which is, I'm hiding my number here, which is the thing that you want to end up with. A lot of people have made the mistakes that when they've gotten their Panama visa, they did not get the e-cedula. This is like your permanent resident card for foreigners. That's what an e-cedula is. So the thing about the Panama visa, this e-cedula does not expire until 13 October 2032. So that means I don't need to do any more paperwork. I don't need to submit any additional applications. I don't need to apply for any more renewals. This is good for 10 years. However, if you leave the country, which I have done, I've moved on to Portugal, every 2 years you have to come back to Panama. You have to show, in order to keep this active, you need to return back to Panama. And if I'm not correct, or if I am correct, I don't think there's like a big policy on how many days you need to stay. Some people say you can do it for 24 hours. I have to go back to Panama this year because because I was in Panama 2025. So I need to go before the year's out to make sure there's no problem with my visa staying active. And I'll probably stay a weekend or something like that, just to make sure. But I'm also going to be having an updated YouTube video with my attorney, which we're going to talk about all the processes and all the visas you can qualify for and any of the new updates that are going on in the Panama immigration system. And that's coming out probably like the second week of February. So make sure you're liking and subscribing and turn on my notifications so you don't miss that. And that's probably going to be a live video. So we'll take some questions, Q&As live about the Panama immigration system. So once again, let me stay on track. So I have the Panama visa, Pensionata visa. And like I said, this card is good for 10 years. So when I say it was straightforward, and easy, not easy, because you still have to do the paperwork. You have to, pay the fee. You have to go to the embassy. So there's steps that you have to take, and that's with any visa. But once you take those steps and turn in your paperwork, you only have to do that one time, okay? So that's the big difference. And I'm looking at my notes here so I don't get sidetracked, which I feel like I'm already sidetracked. But I wanted to talk to you about the two different residencies that I have and the big differences in both. They're both going to give you stability. One thing I wanted to hit on is that some people choose to slow travel and they only go to countries and they stay in the countries depending on how long the tourist visas are good for. For instance, in Panama has a very generous policy. You can stay in Panama for 6 months on a tourist visa before you have to either leave or apply for something on a more permanent basis. So a lot of people come to Panama, stay for 6 months, and then they do border hopping, which you leave Panama for a period of time, go to another country, and come back. As a matter of fact, a lot of people do these in all of these countries. Thailand is very popular for border hopping. They even have companies that take you across the border. Very popular for that. So a lot of people do that. For me, I needed something more stable. Panama was going to be my home base because if you follow me, you know I love to travel. So I was using Panama as my home base, as my home, but I was still traveling to other countries. But I don't want to keep track of, is this visa about to expire? How many days can I stay in this country? And plus, I'm not going to be dragging my suitcase around because I'm border hopping. That lifestyle doesn't work for me, but it does work for some people. In my head, because I know that countries can change their immigration policies at any time, what if you're border hopping and a new policy comes out and you're stuck outside of the country because they are denying you entry back into the country because of the number of times you've border hopped or because they've changed your policies? That has happened to several expats that I've heard about, border hopping, staying in a country for months or years and being denied entry back into the country and having your stuff like in an apartment or something like that. So when you border hop, you are taking those chances. That's a chance that you're taking. I want more stability, and so that's why I pursued a permanent residency in Panama while I was living there. And it's also an option for me if I wanted to go back there and stay. I have my e-cedula, which is Panama's permanent residency for foreigners, which is good until 2032. All right, so let's talk about my Portugal residency. So I'm comparing the paperwork right now compared to Panama. I told you guys Panama was very straightforward. You do your paperwork once and boom, that's it. Okay. Unlike in Portugal, which I am in the process right now. If you guys watch my other videos where I had my temporary visa, did my paperwork, my application, went to the embassy in the States. You have to apply in the States. You can't, in Panama, you do a portion of it in the States and you go to Panama to finish it. But in Portugal, you have to do the initial application in the States at the embassy, your country, excuse me, your embassy close to where you live. You turn in your application for the visa. And that's just for a 4-month visa. That's all you're applying for. Once you get your 4-month visa, you get that approved, you're allowed to enter Portugal as a temporary resident. Now, once you, then you have to make another appointment to apply for your residential visa, which is they give them 2 years at a time. And my understanding is once I renew, then I can get a 3-year visa. Whereas Panama, one shot, 10-year 10-year card is good for 10 years, but you have to come back every 2 years to not renew, but come through the country, I guess. So with Portugal, I'm on the second phase. Although my initial appointment for my residency was canceled, it was rescheduled from June till October. And for that period, I could not travel out of the country. I'm now on the second phase. I have my residency card for 2 years. However, there's different steps that I have to take to complete my official residency in Portugal. Right now, the steps that I'm on right now is I'm getting my NISS number, which I went to the government office last week, which is your Portuguese Social Security number. So you need to have that, okay? And after you get that, there's also a number that you had to have in order to get your application was a NIF. It's like a foreign identification number. That particular number, because when you initially apply to Portugal, that number was attached to your stateside address. But now that you are an official resident of Portugal, you need to update that particular number to your Portuguese address so you can be a Portuguese tax resident. Because depending on your income, although there is a dual treaty, I might be saying it's wrong, but you cannot be double taxed. You can't be taxed on the U.S. and Portugal, but it depends on where the income comes from. So you need to check with an accountant. Don't take my advice, check with an accountant to find out what if or which portion of your income will be taxed in Portugal. So that's another thing that's completely different. You're going to be taxed here in Portugal based on where your income comes from. Okay? So you need to change your address. And in order to qualify, you have to register for the healthcare system. That's a whole nother number, which is an SNS number. But the benefits are you get free healthcare and free prescriptions and things like that. So that's something that is a benefit of being a resident here. But you have to go through the legal paperwork in order to register for that. And another thing that I did when I went to the government office was I got my Chave Mobile Digital, which is a CMD, which this number and password allows you to have access to all of the government systems. And that's something that you need because you can access your finance, you can access your tax paper, whatever you need to access in the government systems, you need to have your mobile digital number to do that. So I'm in the process of getting my Social Security card number, not card. The last time I looked into the system, it was showing pending. So I'm going to check it this week and hopefully it's approved by this week because I need to print that out and I need to take it to the health clinic to register to get into the Portuguese health system. So I'm still in the midst of my residency process. So, and that's one thing, you can't mess around with this. Portugal is very rule based. Everything is, processed and followed to the T. So you want to make sure you have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed and whatever process you need to do. And hey, the first time I tried to get my social security number, excuse me, not that, my register for the health system, I went to this clinic that was literally right down the street from my apartment. Went into that clinic, I was told, no, for this particular month, you have to go to the other clinic. Went to the other clinic, and they gave me a piece of paper, said to email it with your documents to prove that you're a resident. So I did that. Then I got an email basically saying that this email is only used for emergencies or something like that. So I was like, okay, so let me just chill and start over. So now that I've had my appointment getting my NIS, which is my social security number, once I have that printed document, then I'm going to go back into the clinic office to register for the health system because I'll have something official saying that, yes, I am a resident. So the process can be a little, I don't want to say stressful, but you just have to be patient. And whatever it is that you need to do here in Portugal as a resident, you just got to do it. So I'm still working on that part of the residency. And so although, people might say, oh, it's just such a hassle, it might be to some, but I think you have to decide your level of comfortable. Do you want to be not legal or do you want to be legal? And you can decide either way. Whatever works for you works for you. But for me, I sleep better. I know that I have freedom to go in and out of the country. I just have to be legal. I can't be in a country not legal. That just really stresses me out. So the benefits, the extra steps that I have to take in order to secure my Portugal residency or to finish it is much more beneficial to me than not having it. So because I have options now, and I have both Panama and Portugal residencies when I'm going to be completing this very soon. So it's just, you have to decide, I guess, what life works for you, whether or not you choose Panama, Portugal, or another country. Make sure you read all the requirements, make sure you do your research, make sure you know that it's not going to be some piece of cake, something you're going to have to do the paperwork. And make sure you get referrals as far as when you hire an attorney. Most of the countries require some sort of immigration official to get involved. Some are still do your own, but a portion of it still might require an immigration official. I believe here in Portugal you can do your own, but I did went through a company because things are constantly changing here. Unfortunately, some people are getting stuck in the middle. They are denying applications. Even if you've lived here already, some of the renewals are getting denied. There was a couple of families that sent in their applications all together. They approved the parents and denied the kids. They're now appealing. So it just adds all this extra layer of stress. It doesn't need to be here. So I'm hoping, I know that the AMA system, the immigration system here in Portugal is under overhaul. I'm hoping all this stuff smooths out in the next 2 years. And when it's time for me to renew, it is not a big deal because I don't want to be all stressed out trying to figure out if I'm going to be able to stay in the country or leave the country. So we'll just see how that goes. But yeah, because I'm not gonna be in a situation where I'm trying to worry about whether or not they're gonna approve me or not. And some people have even left because of that. They thought it was just too stressful to stay here. So right now things are good. I have my residency card. I'm just completing the rest of the paperwork, and I'm good for 2 years. Actually, it's a little less because they go by a different date, not the date that you actually went into the office. The clock starts even before you get there, which is kind of a little unfair when you think about it, but that's how it is. That's the system. So that's another thing. Sometimes you might not understand a policy or might not even agree with it, but if that's what it is, in order for you to get your residency, you're just going to have to just do it. So I would suggest, if you're in this particular stage of your life, you're in your next season, you're choosing comfort, you want some ease, then I would say for you to to become legal in that country, because that just takes a whole load of stress off you that you don't have to be bothered with. You get to sleep better, you get to travel better. It's just an ease, a comfort that you have. Okay, I can exhale, I can relax. I don't have to look over my shoulder. I don't have to count the calendars. How many more days do I have left? Getting online. Okay, where can I go for this price? This is my budget for the next 2 months. Where can I stay? That's just too much. Too much. So for me, I'm choosing to be legal. So now I have options, and you can have two if you are thinking about a change in your particular life. You don't know where to start. Mary, how do you do this? Mary, I've been thinking about this. Can you help me out? Yes, I can. I have several options for you. I have a Move Abroad guide that you can purchase. I also have a clarity call where I can talk to you one-on-one, and we can kind of map out your next 3 steps. Or if you're done all of that stuff and you just want to have some support along the way while you're making these moves, then you can just join my private Skool community. Either one of those things, or you can keep binge watching. I have over 400 videos here on my channel that you can get all sorts of information from. All right. So I hope this was helpful to you. Only you can decide whether or not, you're going to be legal or not legal. Slow travel, make a home base, settle in. It's totally up to you. I'm just sharing what worked for me and what I'm doing to build a life that fits for me. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Ciao, ciao. Until the next video.